I flew to visit my son without warning, but his wife told me, "Who invited you?" Leave, I silently left. And by morning, my phone had 72 missed calls. The story you are about to hear is a fictional work created by the writing team of the channel, Her Secrets. It is inspired by real-life situations to convey lessons about family, emotions, and human values. All characters and events are illustrative in nature. My name is Maris Caldwell. I am 63, and Daniel is 28. For 35 years, I have poured everything into raising Daniel alone in our small Columbus home. Nights spent on double shifts at the hospital, weekends at baseball games, tuition and exam fees paid out of my own pockets. I never missed a moment, never held back a single ounce of care. When Daniel moved to Seattle for his first tech job, I celebrated quietly, proud of the man he had become. The last 6 months had been different. Video calls ended abruptly, often citing sick children or renovations. My suggestions for visits were met with excuses. Something in the pattern gnawed at me, a mother's intuition that refuses to be ignored. I booked a flight without telling anyone, not Daniel, not Amanda. My heart thumped against the weight of a decision I had never made before, carrying the hope of seeing my grandchildren again. Lily, now 5, and Connor, just 18 months, had grown beyond the images on a screen, and I could no longer accept their absence in my arms. I packed lightly, forcing my thoughts to focus on their laughter I longed to hear, my wallet, my notebook, the few keepsakes I could carry, the essentials of a mother prepared for confrontation, for discovery, for whatever awaited me behind Daniel's door. The plane touched down in Seattle with a dull thud that mirrored my stomach. I stepped into the arrival hall and took a deep breath, ready to face what I feared might already be a changed world. I stepped out of the Uber, suitcase in hand, heart hammering in a rhythm that matched my hope. Through the window, I caught glimpses of Lily chasing Connor across the living room floor. Their laughter was a melody I hadn't heard in the last 6 months since our last visit. I grinned, imagining their tiny faces lighting up when they saw me. I rang the doorbell, rehearsing my words in my mind. "Surprise," I whispered under my breath, though the excitement twisted into nerves. The laughter stopped immediately. Footsteps approached. Daniel opened the door, his t-shirt rumpled, jeans worn, but his expression was cold, flat. "Mom, what are you doing here? I came to visit," I replied, forcing a warmth I barely felt. "I wanted to surprise you and the kids. I've missed you all so much." He took a step back, folding his arms. "Who invited you?" Behind him, Lily peeked around the corner, her eyes wide and curious. Amanda appeared, gently pulling her back, a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Daniel, tell her we'll call when things settle down," she murmured softly, yet the tone carried authority. I looked at my son, the boy I had raised alone, the one I had stayed up nights worrying over, and he seemed like a stranger. I started, but he held up a hand. "Go home, we'll talk later." The door closed, smooth and controlled. No slam, no drama, just finality. I stood on the porch, suitcase at my feet, the silence pressing against me. The children were inside, unaware of the storm behind the closed door. I forced my jaw to unclench, took a shaky breath, and turned toward the street, each step heavy with disbelief. 6 months of absence had stretched into something I barely recognized. The reunion I had imagined evaporated before it began. The door closed behind Daniel, soft but final. I stood frozen on the porch, my hands gripping the handle of my suitcase, trying to make sense of what had just happened. 6 months of absence, of careful restraint, of missing birthdays and video calls, and it all collapsed in one sentence: "Who invited you?" "Leave." I glanced back at the window. Lily pressed her tiny face against the glass, eyes wide, unaware of the tension. Connor babbled something that sounded like a question. Amanda held them both close, her smile polite, controlled, leaving no room for warmth. I shifted my weight, forcing myself to stay upright. "Daniel," I began, my voice trembling, barely louder than a whisper. "Go home." "Mom," he interrupted, eyes cold. "We'll talk later." His hand lifted in a silent stop. I wanted to argue, to explain that I had only flown across the country to see them, to hold my grandchildren, to show them I hadn't forgotten a single bedtime story or scraped knee. But the words caught in my throat. Amanda's presence behind him, subtle and commanding, made it clear she held the boundaries here. Every gesture, every glance, reinforced that I was an intruder, not family. I exhaled slowly, letting my grip on the suitcase loosen. I turned away, each step heavy, echoing the disbelief settling in my chest. The children's laughter from inside mocked the emptiness I felt. For the first time in decades, I felt invisible in the life I had built. Not a mother, not a grandmother, just a visitor unwelcome in her own family. I walked down the porch steps, suitcase dragging softly behind me, and for the first time, I considered that this rejection wasn't just a moment, it was a pattern. I would need to understand it, document it, and confront it. My journey had only just begun. The next morning, my phone buzzed relentlessly on the nightstand. 72 missed calls from Daniel. My thumb hovered over the screen. Each vibration, a tiny hammer against my chest. I didn't answer. I couldn't. Voicemails poured in, one after another. "Mom, where are you? Call me immediately. Amanda's worried sick." Another, "This isn't funny. You need to tell us where you're staying." And another, "Mom, we're sorry about earlier. The kids want to see you." I listened to 10 before I paused, a knot tightening in my stomach. Not one asked if I was safe. Not one wondered how I felt after being thrown out like a stranger. Every message revolved around them. Their panic, their control, the concern they showed yesterday evaporated. Today, it demanded, it monitored, it enforced. I sank onto the edge of the hotel bed, suitcase at my feet, and exhaled slowly. The realization settled cold and clear. This wasn't about worry. It never had been. It was manipulation. A sudden claim to ownership over my presence, my time, my actions. I picked up my notebook, flipping it open to a fresh page. Dates, times, voices, words. I wrote them all down. Every missed call, every text, every excuse over the past 6 months. Patterns emerged in the scrawled lines. Determination replaced shock. If they could orchestrate control from 600 miles away, I could gather the truth and face it. Every ounce of energy I had poured into raising Daniel, into loving my grandchildren, would not be dismissed. I would find the evidence. I would understand the pattern. And I would act. I sat at the edge of the hotel bed, laptop open, phone at my side, and a notebook ready. And over the past 2 years, dozens of video calls and messages lay before me. Last night alone, 72 missed calls from Daniel. Each conversation, each missed call, each abrupt ending revealed a subtle shift I had ignored until now. By March 2024, Lily asked, "Grandma, when are you coming?" Amanda's hand appeared over the camera, redirecting her instantly. I typed rapidly. Organizing dates, times, and excuses. Each entry drew a pattern that tightened around my chest. This was no random oversight. Someone had intentionally put distance between Daniel and me. I reached out to old friends of Daniel's from college, careful to keep my messages neutral. "Have you noticed any changes in Daniel lately?" I asked a former roommate, Mike, who had stayed in touch over the years. "Honestly, yeah," he replied within an hour. "He's different since he married Amanda. Less contact with old friends, quieter on the phone. She doesn't seem to like his old circle." I scribbled notes, connecting the dots with my own memories. Each canceled visit, each cut call, Each excuse now aligned. Amanda had positioned herself between us, shaping what Daniel saw and how he responded. I leaned back, letting the truth settle. The alienation I had felt, the frustration, the sudden coldness, it was intentional. She had orchestrated it, carefully. Over months and years, I closed the notebook with a soft snap and drew a deep breath. Understanding it was the first step. The next would be planning, documenting, and gathering the evidence that would make them see what they tried to hide. No more ignoring the pattern. No more silent surrender. I would act. And I would be prepared. I stepped into the glass-fronted building in downtown Seattle, heart still tight from the revelations of the past week. Jennifer Morrison's office was calm, lined with books and case files. But the woman herself carried an air of quiet authority that made my worries shrink just a little. "Mrs. Caldwell," she greeted, offering a firm handshake. "Take a seat. Tell me everything." I unfolded my notes, careful to keep my voice steady. 2 years of video calls, abruptly cut. Visits canceled with excuses. 72 missed calls just last night. Every interaction suddenly controlled. Every word scrutinized. Jennifer nodded, listening without interruption. "You're describing what Washington law refers to as parental or grandparent alienation. It's subtle, persistent, and usually intentional." I swallowed. Intentional. "You think Amanda is orchestrating this?" "I don't speculate on motives," Jennifer replied evenly. "But the pattern you describe fits. The law recognizes grandparents may have visitation rights, but proving it is challenging. Courts will require evidence of a substantial relationship, and that visitation serves the children's best interests." My stomach tightened. "And if they resist, resistance is expected," Jennifer said, leaning forward. "They will push back, attempt to portray you as intrusive or unstable. It will get ugly. Emails, phone calls, affidavits, possibly court hearings. You need to be prepared for every claim and every accusation." I nodded, taking in the weight of her words. This was no simple request to see my grandchildren. It was a battle, a legal confrontation layered on top of the emotional turmoil I already carried. Jennifer opened a folder, sliding it toward me. "We'll start by documenting everything. Every missed call, every canceled visit, every message, every witness who can verify your relationship." I picked up my pen, determination rising. I had raised Daniel alone, loved my grandchildren, and sacrificed everything for this family. If defending that love meant standing against them all, I was ready. My phone buzzed incessantly, emails stacking faster than I could read. Daniel's name flashed repeatedly, Amanda's next to it, and each one carried the same urgent, demanding tone. "Mom, stop this! You're tearing the family apart. Carol, we know where you are. Stop. Think about the kids." I stared at the screen, blinking. 72 calls, messages, and now emails with attachments, photos of me entering the hotel, snapshots from a nearby coffee shop. Amanda's reach stretched across the city, tracking me, controlling the narrative, turning concern into a weapon. I exhaled, forcing myself to stay calm. I didn't answer the phone. I didn't reply to the emails. Each tap on the screen reminded me that my presence alone had become a threat in their eyes. I packed a small bag, leaving the hotel under a different name, moving to a modest extended stay. Every step, measured. Every check-in, discreet. I carried my notes, laptop, and all evidence with me. I had to remain untouchable, yet ready. That evening, another email arrived from Daniel Maris. "I don't know what game you're playing. Amanda is devastated. You're making everything worse." I forwarded it to Jennifer without a word. Her reply arrived almost immediately. "Perfect. Save everything. This will help your case." I set my phone aside, letting the tension settle into a quiet focus. Their panic, their threats, their manipulations, they only reinforced the truth I had seen for weeks. Amanda had built a wall between us. Daniel, willingly or not, had enforced it. I opened my notebook, flipping to a fresh page. Fresh dates, times, words, witnesses. I recorded every instance of control and misdirection. Every message, every tracking photo, every accusation became part of a pattern I would use to reclaim my place in their lives. Love and law collided, but I was no longer helpless. Every move they made, every attempt to intimidate, strengthened my resolve to act. The courtroom smelled of old wood and paper, tension thick enough to taste. I sat beside Jennifer, notebook open, hands trembling slightly, though my jaw was steady. Daniel and Amanda faced us across the room, expressions carefully neutral, but I could feel the undercurrent of fear and control. Jennifer stood first. Your Honor, we will show that Mrs. Caldwell maintained a substantial, loving relationship with her grandchildren, and that this connection was systematically interrupted without justification. Amanda's lips pressed together, a tight line. Daniel avoided my gaze, shifting in his seat. The first witness, Patricia from my support group, described a day in the park, teaching Lily to swing, holding her hand gently, interacting naturally. Ms. Chen, Amanda's attorney, rose sharply. Objection. One day hardly proves ongoing influence. Jennifer didn't flinch. We have photographs, messages, video calls, and testimony covering 2 years. Amanda's face flickered. Her composure slipped for the briefest moment as Jennifer outlined the pattern: canceled visits, shortened calls, sudden distance. She opened her mouth, attempting to interject. Then it happened. In a tone meant to justify her actions, Amanda blurted, "I freed Daniel from his mother." Silence dropped across the room. Every head turned. My breath hitched. That single sentence carried the weight of months, even years, of manipulation and control. Jennifer's eyes sharpened. The judge leaned forward, removing her glasses. "You freed him?" the judge asked. Voice calm, but cutting. "Yes," Amanda murmured, realizing too late what she admitted. Jennifer moved immediately, guiding the questioning. "Ms. Amanda Henderson, you describe a relationship as being released from a mother's influence. Can you specify what actions you took to enforce this distance?" Amanda faltered, stumbling over her words. Each hesitation, each carefully chosen excuse, revealed the intentional isolation. Daniel shifted uncomfortably, glancing at his wife. I closed my eyes for a second, letting it sink in. This confession confirmed everything I had suspected, every pattern I had documented. 2 years of excuses, control, and orchestrated separation now had a name: parental alienation. The courtroom hummed with tension. The legal battle had entered its peak, the emotional stakes higher than ever. Every eye in that room now saw what had been invisible to Daniel for so long, and I finally felt the power of truth on my side. The judge adjusted her glasses and peered over the bench. "Mrs. Caldwell, your petition for grandparent visitation rights has been reviewed. Considering the evidence, the court finds sufficient cause to grant supervised visits." A quiet shiver ran through me. The words hung in the air, weighty and real. Jennifer placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. Amanda's lips pressed into a thin line. Daniel's shoulders slumped slightly, his eyes avoiding mine. The power they had wielded for months now felt fragile. The court detailed the terms: visits twice a month, 4 hours each, at a neutral location under a court-appointed supervisor. For the first 3 months, the supervisor would observe every interaction. After that, the arrangement would be reassessed. Jennifer whispered, "Take your time, Maris. These first visits are crucial." I nodded, gripping my notebook with both hands. Every message, every photo, every witness statement had led to this. I would not let fear override the moment. When the supervisor, a kind woman named Rosa, guided me to a small community center, I felt my heart twist with anticipation. Lily clung to Connor's hand. Hesitating near the door, I crouched low, softening my voice. "It's me, Lily. I missed you." Her eyes widened, and she stepped forward slowly. Connor waddled after, his tiny hand reaching for mine. I picked him up, feeling the warmth of his body press against mine, familiar and grounding. Daniel hovered nearby, awkward, unsure. He glanced at me, his jaw tightening, then relaxed just slightly as Lily whispered, "Grandma!" Amanda remained on the sidelines, expression guarded, authority strained but fading. I breathed deeply, savoring the connection I had fought for. Every laugh and hug a victory of its own. The legal win was tangible, but rebuilding the trust, the bonds with Daniel, the full embrace of family, it would take time. The first supervised visit ended, but as I watched them leave, I knew this was the beginning of reclamation, not its conclusion. The first monthly visit under the court-appointed supervisor went smoother than I expected. Rosa guided the children toward me, and Lily ran the last few steps, her small arms wrapping around my waist. Connor followed, wobbling on unsteady legs. Leaning into my shoulder, Grandma Lily whispered, her voice full of relief. I smiled, picking up Connor and adjusting him in my arms. "I've missed you both so much." Daniel lingered nearby, quiet, watching the reunion. He offered a small nod, and I caught a flicker of recognition in his eyes, the boy I had raised, still inside the man he had become. Amanda hovered in the background, her control still present but weakening. "Remember the rules," she murmured to Rosa, but the sharpness in her tone had dulled. Over the following weeks, visits became more frequent, longer, sometimes including overnight stays in my modest apartment near Green Lake. Lily's laughter filled the rooms. Connor's tiny hands reached for mine in trust, and Daniel started showing up more often, sharing coffee, conversations, and small, unguarded smiles. One evening, Daniel lingered after the children left, the apartment quiet. "Mom, I'm sorry," he admitted softly. "I didn't realize what I'd allowed to happen, how I let distance grow." I took his hand gently. "It's not just about apologies. It's about presence, about showing up, even when it's hard. That's how trust rebuilds." By the 6th month, the supervised visits ended. Lily and Connor knew me again, and I felt my role as grandmother restored, steady and unconditional. Amanda's influence continued to wane, her attempts at control fading as Daniel reclaimed his independence. The lessons were clear and heavy. Love doesn't vanish because of manipulation, and patience, persistence, and courage can reclaim what seemed lost. Family bonds survive when you fight for them with honesty, with presence, and with unwavering care. If you've ever faced rejection, if someone tried to erase your place in a loved one's life, what would you do? Comment below. Share your story, and never stop showing up for the people who matter most.